you think of a martyr's death, you might picture dignified suffering, noble sacrifice, perhaps a reluctantly admiring crowd, some final well-chosen words of grace and wisdom. We often imagine a certain glory to martyrdom, but that only goes to show we don't really know what we're talking about. Richard Wurmbrand wrote Tortured for Christ, a stunning first-person account of the persecution of the Romanian church under communist rule. He remarks at one stage that the most effective way for the government to kill off a pastor was to arrest the pastor and then spread a false rumour among the village that he was a vile sex offender. When they then released the pastor again, the mob would do the rest. Think about those pastors. In the eyes of the world, they did not die as noble martyrs. They died as pedophiles. Many people imagine an applauding crowd lining the way to martyrdom. But Wurmbrand writes of the reality. Those who die for Jesus are rarely known to be dying for Jesus. They are generally considered the scum of the earth. And those who kill them feel entirely justified in ridding the world of their presence. Those put to death are treated as worthy of death. There is no honor, no dignity, no earthly vindication for these martyrs. But even in shame, martyrs for Christ share a deep fellowship with their Lord. For Jesus' death was the ultimate in shameful degradation. In fact, the shame of Jesus' death was a key part of his sufferings. As he looked ahead to his passion, the mockery of the Son of Man was central. In Mark chapter 10, he predicts, they will mock him and spit on him, flog him and kill him. After 3 days he will rise again. Jesus will not merely die for his creatures. I mean, such sacrifice is astonishing enough. But we could almost imagine him laying on some altar as fearful and reverent priests come and lay their hands on him and he sheds his blood for the sins of the world. We could picture him as he dies reassuring his hesitant executioners, saying, "Friend, let it be so. I do this for you." But in reality, Jesus stoops infinitely lower than such a death. He is not just murdered, he is mocked mercilessly. Matthew 27 from verse 27. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers round him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand and knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spat on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again with the crown of thorns still digging into him. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. Here we see sort of an anti-coronation service. In the palace, they robe him, crown him, and proclaim him king. At the same time, they mock him, spit on him, and punch him in the face. If this was a mere man, it would be shameful enough. If he were an earthly king, it would be treason. But what is it to treat the Lord of glory like this? What kind of Lord subjects himself to such treatment? Not just to death, but to this kind of death. He doesn't simply die. He is dissected before a hateful crowd, stripped naked, teased, and spat on by his killers. He is punched and punched and punched again. Here is a God who cares nothing for appearances. Here is a God who cares nothing for earthly glory. Literally nothing is beneath his dignity. There are no depths which he will not plumb in order to save you.